LinkedIn. Some of you may have come in through communication through the other tech communities here in Springfield. I want to give you a big warm welcome from Chad and myself and the other members of the community who've reached out to me and who've said, they're really excited about this. We're going to have you get up in a minute and walk around and work with an exercise. So I just wanted to give you that warning, that 2-minute warning to shove down any food you want to and do what you have to do. We're going to give updates to Jason Klein and Mike Bates. They're part of the tech community. We know a lot. There's a lot of overlap, and I'm going to let him do his thing.
Can you bring up the tech calendar and pull up September? Hi, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. My name is Jason Klein, and I'm with the local tech council, Mid-America Technology Alliance. If you're not already aware, definitely check out Ford Springfield, fwdsgf.com. That's our local tech calendar. Chad's brought up next month's calendar, and there are a couple events that we definitely want you to be aware of. How many people here are developers or work with developers, software developers? Okay, pretty good mix. So the main announcements that we want to make tonight are developer related. I'm going to have Mike Bates make an announcement about the web dev meeting, but I also want to be sure that you're aware of the event on September 20th, Google Dev Fest, which is an all-day developer conference here in town. Registration, the early bird registration either ends, does it end today or has it already ended? Amber? Hey, one of our organizers, probably Amber. I think it ends today, but if not, it's still definitely worth going to. Full price registration is $50, but if early bird is still open, you could save a few bucks.
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday. Thank you, Mike. And nonetheless, looking forward to that event. They've got a great lineup. Most of their speakers are from out of area. That event will be held here. Mike, do you want to say anything about SGF Web Devs and the event coming up on the 4th?
Yeah, this will take like 10 seconds. Hey, so there's a lot of faces in here that I haven't necessarily seen at Web Devs before. So our next meeting on September 4th, there we go. It's going to be a big one. We've got some big announcements. So if you're into software development at all, be there for that, and free food and all the good stuff. So for anybody that hasn't been out there, consider checking it out. You can find it on Meetup.
And what's the topic? You can watch.
Oh, yeah, shoot. Yeah, there's a topic as well after that big announcement. Tom Rankin and I will be building a website from scratch and deploying it in about 30 or 40 minutes. And so it'll be really good for anybody who's just getting into maybe web development and doesn't know what that process looks like from beginning to end. And for those of you that do, it's always nice to see other individuals' workflow and find out some tips and tricks from their methods and how they like to work. So yes, that should be fun. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
No problem.
So, by the way, first of all, the response to this has been more than we expected. We thought we'd have maybe 5, 10 people come out. This is amazing. This is quite a community. There's a lot of things that we can do in this community to make an impact in Springfield and in our own professional lives. So it's awesome. It's an awesome responsibility. If there are members, if any of you here would like to be part of the leadership committee, would like to help run meetings, would like to do sub-teams, work with learning, etc., reach out to either Chad or myself and let us know. And we'll definitely be asking as well. I don't want to put anyone on the spot right now, but just wanted to throw that out there. We definitely need a lot of help. In a minute, we're gonna get up and kind of do some work together on the future of the group. I wanted to acknowledge the survey, walk through it, and announce our winner. There's a $100 Amazon gift certificate for our winner. There were 50 people who responded prior to the meeting, which is a really great response rate. If we were, I don't know how that associates to the people who showed up today, but I think we have 112 members in the group, so almost 50% response rate on very short notice. So, and it was a long survey. I appreciate all of you who took it. If you didn't, still take it. The information is still valuable, and we'll put you in the drawing for the next quarter. So, but our winner is there a Kimberly here from SBC Global? She didn't. She wasn't here tonight. Now, I wasn't explicitly clear to that it involved both participating and being here at the meeting, but I think we're going to give it to her on this one, and I will reach out to her by email. She left her email. So sorry if you didn't win, but keep participating. You'll have a chance next time. And we'll do more fun things like that. I know this is going to be hard to see. I'm going to share out a report, and when I have more time, I'll do more work with this. I'm very much of the mindset that when working with surveys, there's more than meets the eye. There's a lot below the surface in terms of how things relate to each other or the outcomes you're trying to achieve, and everything is backwards on Chad's laptop. So we're fine though. We're fine. So I will, you don't necessarily have to be able to read this. I just wanted to share a few highlights with you. Like I said, we might do more with this, but a lot of effort went into this. So I wanted to share, what we learned, which might impact what we're doing here. So, 2 fingers. So, first we asked, how do you define yourself currently? We have, the high level is we have a mixed group. We have the majority, 42%, currently work with data, but wouldn't call it data science. So that's fine. We really just wanted to bring together people around this concept of data, what you can do with it. That might involve statistics, visualization, and further. Obviously, data science implies going deeper, and that's where we want to get as a group. But anyone interested in data is invited, and that's what we saw. We saw across a variety of different categories. So just know it's a mixed group. We're trying to cater to that, and we will, in the main meetings, we'll try to, we kind of anticipated that, we'll try to show the output of analysis at a high level or an orientation to what's possible at a high level, but then we'll have sub-teams that work at more depth. So there's something for everyone. And we'll work together on what does that look like. So we have only roughly half the people here who work with data every day, and then we have responses across a variety of different categories. When we were looking at how much people know about different categories, I broke it into 3 things: statistics, systems, and specific scientific categories. We get and I used a 10-point scale from nothing to a ton. We get this, you'll see this just kind of like scattering arranged, meaning like we don't have, we have people all over the place. So that's kind of interesting. When we look at the systems part of it, again, that's about the same. We see the scattering. As we go into software engineering, I think I'll run the overall means. I'd say we have a slightly higher concentration of people with a software engineering background, and I think that makes sense. We reached out to the tech communities here in Springfield, so we're getting a higher concentration of people like that coming out right now. We haven't really reached out to universities or people that are doing other things. Applied science in a domain like operations or behavioral science, we're kind of on the lower end of the spectrum over there, but we do have some people. Not huge, giant leaping insights there, but it will allow us to sort of cut some of the other data by those dimensions and see what different kind of segments are interested in. Let's see. I won't go across it. I won't do everything here because that would end up taking us a while. We were asking, can you give a presentation on the topic? It looks like roughly 10% of the group. So if we have 100 people, we might have 10 presentations we could line up. We have, out of the people who responded to the survey, we have 5. So if you're one of those 5 and you're here, let us know because we want to get them on the schedule. So we want to start working with you. We have a much larger group that said, no hell, no way. We understand that. So sometimes people want to hear me speak and I don't know why. So I should be in that category, but I'll do a talk at some point. So there are broad categories of interest, and I just want to cover this so we know, okay, we have to meet different needs. One is developing friendships and socializing. I think that's a big thing that's coming out of the effort with the survey, or what I saw. The biggest thing that jumps out is, that like again, we'll look at the means and compare responses to different items, but one of the higher items is, look, we just want to find other people who are like myself. We're kind of nerdy, we're interested in data, we work at different companies, maybe we feel isolated there. Can we meet with other people and learn from each other? I think that's a big part of what we need to do. So, that we'll design around that. There are also a significant number of people, work 40%, and well, if we combine the agree and strongly agree, 68% who are interested in networking for career development purposes. We have plenty of opportunity for that amongst this group, and as we grow, it'll increase. There's some that are not as interested in getting into the nuts and bolts, and I think that'll be fine. I think we'll have a mixture of different content that's shared, and that's fine, but we'll always try to have something in each meeting that allows you to just jump in and have an appreciation for what's possible. There is a low, that's not necessarily, that's kind of compared to the others, not the biggest category, but there are some people like that. And then developing deep expertise, pretty high percentage, over half that really want to get deeper in terms of what they're doing with data science, and that's on point. That's precisely what we want to try to achieve as a group. Let's see if I want to cover this. I'll follow up on some of these other items. Basically we're trying to find out amongst the group who wants to meet on a more regular basis and get deeper, and we'll have some data to work with that, and we'll give you opportunities to do that, ways to sign up for that. A concept I wanted to present to the group, and we'll get your reaction to it. I mean, if it bombs, and we'll go another way. But I thought a valuable use of our skill set as a community would be to give back to Springfield, try to find projects where we can go get data or create data or think creatively about things that people don't consider data but could be used in that way to make a contribution to Springfield solving some type of problem. We'll have to decide together as a group what that is, if that's a path that we take. It does, we do have a substantial number of agrees on that, over 50%. So I think there is a contingent that wants to do that, and we'll break out some sub-teams that want to work on that. It's also a good chance to work together side by side with other people that you normally wouldn't get a chance to work with, maybe that are working in another industry or company, and that you can learn from. So in a real practical way, as opposed to an abstract presentation where you're only getting added in a very surfacey way. So we'll put together some groups that work on stuff like that. I probably better watch my time a little bit, but I'll share a little more. So one of the things I did, there were some open-ended questions about what do you want to learn about and what do you already know a lot about. And what I did was, to make better use of our time as a group, I took the things that people wanted to learn about and that I got from the survey, and I put them all up here as stickies. In a minute, when I'm done walking through the survey, we'll get up, we'll walk around, feel free to get more food, get more drinks. And I'd like to ask you as a group to take a look at this list. If there's anything missing, add your item to the list now. We've got stickies over there and pens. We have some up here. Feel free to spread out, write it down, and then just stick it up. And then what we'll do is I don't want to make this complicated, but I think we can explain fairly easily. We'll use these little dots and use we need to use different colors to indicate different things, but take 3 red dots which represent what you personally would like to learn more about, and place them somewhere here, and 3 yellow dots which represent something you already know a lot about, and place them somewhere here. And if none of these hit you and or you don't have an ad, in terms of a sticky, just abandon them. But that'll give us a sense, distribution-wise, where we're at as a group, and then we can figure out what we have as a community and where we want to focus. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any design recommendations? recommendations
Yeah, I think the
on
dots
that
are bigger
exercise?
than the post-its are. So I mean, I think maybe what we could do is spread out the post-its and then have like maybe put the bigger post-it notes below that.
Yeah.
And then just use a Sharpie and use tallies. Because right now the dots are way bigger than the post-its.
The dots will overwhelm the stickies. So can you help me with that?
Yeah.
And maybe grab a few other people to help me redesign that on the fly?
Maybe tick marks for red dots and check marks for yellow dots.
Left or right?
So abandon the dots, but just put a perfect. Perfect. Any counter arguments on that? While we're thinking about that, think about that for a second. And you can help me do that while I'm going to do a little more on what we learned from the survey while he's doing that. The other thing when you're up and about, and we'll have like a good 10 minutes for this. It's not, it's not going to be perfect, but just we're just trying to use our time together as a group. But we went around the room and said, what are our names? What are you interested in learning? It'd be an hour before we got 3/4 of the way. So we're just trying to use our time a little more efficiently. These are companies.
Oh, these are companies.
Yeah, you don't have to do that.
I thought we were gonna vote on whose company we liked the best.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Thank you. This is more for fun, and this is just, hey, these are the companies that I know are represented based in the community based on the survey. Some of you didn't take the survey, so your company may not be here. If you will, put your sticky up there. If it's like confidential and you don't want anyone to know, that's fine. By the way, there's some people who are retired or independent. That's also fine. And while we're doing this exercise, will you just put a dash if this is your company? I just want to know, like, hey, we have 30 people here from BKD or something. Then we can go to BKD and say, can we do a meeting at your facility? Can we get you as a sponsor or whatever? Obviously, you guys can help us with that. We're not gonna, no high pressure thing. But it'd just be nice for everyone to know, like, hey, we represent quite a few companies in Springfield. That's pretty awesome. So you can get a sense of what that's like over there, and know like who's here. So sorry you have to hear me talk a lot. So that's kind of the exercise. Any other thoughts, like anything else we should try to collect as a group while we have time together and we're establishing community? Anyone wanna suggest something that I missed? Oh, date and time, the basics.
Yeah.
Date, time, location. So are we okay with meeting regularly on the 3rd Tuesday of each month? Awesome. Nobody wants to feel free to send me a note if this is like a major life conflict for you. We probably won't change it just for one person,
Right.
But if we have major problems, I'm happy to take feedback, and if there are great suggestions. We don't have to meet at eFactory all the time. What's great is that we can use this facility for free, and there are a lot of tech people here already. So I like it, but sometimes we can do social meetings at other venues, or the smaller sub-teams can meet wherever they want. Anytime you want to meet here, let me know. I can talk to the staff here. We can probably get you in, no charge. So they like to facilitate tech in Springfield. A lot of startups here that need data science, by the way. So it's a good place to get close to and cuddle up to. Okay. Okay, so I asked some questions basically to measure, which over time will streamline the survey. But basically like a net promoter score. If you're in marketing or sales, you know what that is. The concept is a single question that measures, would you recommend this product or this company? And in our case, I applied it to our group, which I expected a low response right now because you don't know a lot about the group. If you gave us a high response, I appreciate that. You're giving us a lot of rope. But the idea is over time we want to move this rating, we want to measure it, and then we'll know as promoters of the group that we're doing a good job or we're not. And the idea is if
if you would respond and say you would recommend, that's probably predictive of the group growing, and that's what we want. So, by the way, don't feel pressure to give any response. We actually want to hear negative responses. And then I went a little wild hair and asked the same thing about, would you recommend Springfield as a great place for current data science? Both of these, on a pure net promoter basis, if you've worked for a company that measures this, are very low. This is not what you want to see. But that's fine because we're just getting started. But if you look at the Springfield one, this is what you want. What you're measuring are your percentage of people who respond in these two categories, subtracting, you have to look at the definition, some that are over here, and you're looking for the net. And the idea is that that's actually predictive of sales if you're selling a product. And they've done the math on that apparently. That was Bain. Now, for any given company, maybe there's a better predictor, but it's kind of a general thing. If we say like Springfield, like data science in Springfield right now, not so great. Our goal is to improve that remarkably. Basically have that become a talking point for our politicians, our companies, and for our universities to say we've developed some depth in data science in Springfield, and it's a place that has made some investment in that, and that's why you should think about it. Obviously, like for, that's important to me and maybe many of you. For other people, maybe it's something else, but that's what we're working on. Let's see. Then I went into like a variety of questions to just that we were going to basically correlate to that I don't want to put anyone else in on this, but a bunch of other questions that I basically agree or disagree statements that I wanted to correlate with the Net Promoter Score, and I'll get back to you on that. I suspect that'll be a little wonky right now, but we'll improve over time. But that would allow us to basically determine what's important relative to what we're trying to achieve, and we can change out questions over time. Don't worry about that. But basically, do we have a clear understanding of the difference between average data work and great data science right now? Not as much as we'd like. Again, like this is just a very surfacey view while they're setting up over here.
We're pretty much ready.
Okay. I have a clear picture of how to create a rewarding career in data science in Springfield. The response is very low. Like that's something I think as a group we're going to improve just by getting together, but that we can work on. I have capabilities I need to apply world-class data science to problems I face at work. We're, again, like not precisely where we want it to be, a little bit lower on the spectrum. Springfield as a whole and what we think, there's a little bit of hearsay here, but again, lower than we want it to be. So that's fine though, that's great. That's what we're working on. If we're looking for a compelling mission, we've now found it. Is there a clear objective around which we, as a united community? I went neutral on this because basically I don't even know the answer yet.
Okay, we're ready.
So, some people have more vision than me. That's fine, but we see this nice normal distribution, not quite normal, but interesting distribution. But that's where we are. But our goal is to establish that together over the next couple meetings. We don't have to walk through all this. I'll record a video. I'll share the report. It's not a black box. The exercise, just to reiterate what we're doing here. Yeah, if you don't see your company on the list, add it and put a check mark. So we just get a tally and we understand who's represented. And then over here, what we're doing is we are indicating where we would like, various categories of knowledge, where you'd like to learn more, and where you already know a lot about. We're getting a tally, and we're gonna take that and assess that. And you have, how much time do we want to give to this? Where are we at on time?
We got 30 minutes on the full meeting, so like 20 minutes.
Oh, so can I give them 10 minutes on this, or 5 minutes?
I give them 10 or 20 minutes to get it back through this.
Okay, let's do 10 minutes on this. We'll see where we're at. I think 10 minutes will be fine, and that'll give Chad 20 minutes. just to orient, because we might kind of lose control as we're working on this, we're going to do that for 10 minutes. Hopefully we can get it all done in that time frame. We didn't want to just like get together and say, hey, what do we want to do? We also wanted to, we're kind of cramming it down, but we wanted to illustrate how easy it is to give a presentation in a short period of time and inspire people. And Chad's going to do that after we're done with this. So you're not going to leave without getting that. We're going to spend a little time to do that, but we'll also be conscious of your time. So Chad said he could flex. But so we're ready to go. If you want to grab a drink or more food, that's fine, and just kind of roll your way up here, and we'd love to get your feedback. Thank you.
You said just 3 for each. So what is
Yes,
the key?
3 for each.
The key is, no, it's just,
And they're split on different sides. Just, okay.
I'm just laughing.
Stole my poster.
That was a big fall. Let's keep it down.
Gravity.
Play by the
No,
Okay.
1 mark per customer.
It's easy for me to think what I didn't know, but what I do know is
Excuse me.
stay away from R. If you write R, I'm not going to show you.
Okay. I added a new one. Using date.
Who wrote the words up here? Indian translator.
Somebody read that?
If I was going to be mistaken for anybody that's not that person be mistaken for me. I just started. He was in town. But he was in Springfield for a while. So that's primarily his job. Only because I felt bad. Yeah. Oh, I have a strong IT background. So I can do a little bit of writing if you like. So I can do some analytics. I know R. If they need me to do a little bit of programming, I can do some of that. So it's just when you work for a non-profit like I do, they'll take advantage of it. So when you're halfway through. I love hearing that. Learn more about others.
Okay, these things what do you find a little lobster?
Yeah, they're all methods of collecting data.
here. We should have put no illegal people.
Alright.
They are the nonprofit.
How are we on? What?
Yeah.
Sequel tableau. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There you go. Correct, sir.
Data mining.
Oh wait, that was the, I was like, you broke it. You did.
Methods of collecting.
It's also interesting to see just human nature.
That one does not.
I mean, I've provided for people who smoke while having their office. I think that people will be much smarter than that.
And then this specifically, this topic, people are clearly interested in.
What I really want to do is
Also, it's like this training.
I got into Columbus with the idea of right. If I start making money next year, right?
I don't get out much. I like to joke about it.
Get a band.
Right. Why some time out. We have work for 3 companies. They were all right along campus. Progressively spacing markets.
I think that's very.
I honestly, I've always dark. Is that supposed to be a jury?
I think if we're making, if the idea
I assume.
Or is it?
emulate. No, I'm sorry.
Google it.
Bing it.
Part of it is, I just want to be
Tell me what the questions are.
I just want to know if
They're afraid of the unknown.
they probably give me a jump share. I don't like I like to have the neighbors
One of our arguments was
That's the thing. Because when I worked,
his goal is Can you read that second one using data for this is
I think we're close. You have your. I'll take the awkward transition and then we'll go from there. Do I need to say something about this? Maybe I could say I gotta analyze this and I'll shoot you a note. Yeah, maybe after the meeting.
Yeah, I wouldn't give anybody results of this today. Don't expect results.
That's right. It's just, I talk too much.
Just say don't expect results to put together and come next month, right? Just tease it.
I know. Where did it go? They work for something down here. That's like data. Learn more. We actually have machine learning. We'll try to expect. Which is your world. Did you? That's it. You already covered.
You need one. I had a couple of minutes.
Don't touch anything.
All right.
Disease seemed to be unpopular. So
What's this? Disease. Otherwise, disease. Yeah, what is that?
This one?
Others. I see. Bottom left corner.
that was the city epidemiologist.
We need to, so I didn't add it to this exercise, but we need to basically brainstorm around what is it we want to like work on as part of the process.
My grandson used to drive us so far.
Up in there. Sit for a little bit.
Brightest.
Got the best of people.
We need to leverage that.
Anyway, gotta start them early.
We'll have them do a project and then present it. so at some point. Yeah. We'll get them in the, we'll teach them first.
Minecraft?
And then we'll have them.
We'll have them do a Minecraft presentation.
He was using 5 syllable words.
Awesome. We can work with that.
Good luck. I'll go home and hear.
We got I'm Chad Hendricks. Nice to meet you. You enjoying the Cheetos?
All right, okay, everybody.
Get some more.
It's always hard. I'm the awkward transition guy. Thank you for your. We won't try to present on this now. I will analyze this and I'll get something back to you at the next meeting, and if not, by email before. So what I wanted to do was just I'm going to let Chad introduce himself. Chad. Through the tech community, and connection there. I'm going to give the mic to Chad. What Chad's going to, he has probably 15, 20 minutes, which is quite a challenge.
Anywhere between 10 and 30.
That's right. Quite a challenge to basically do a compelling presentation on data science. And so I'll give you the floor.
Sure. So yeah, thanks. My name's Chad Boschert. I have been pretty active here in the local tech community for many years. The eFactory is a fantastic place. My company, Crowd, we went through the accelerator here. There's just a lot of fantastic stuff here in the Springfield community, so I'm thankful to be able to participate in this group and help give back. So when we were planning this particular meeting, we thought it was going to be, I don't know, anywhere between 5 and 20 people. We had no clue. And so this turnout's pretty amazing. And we wanted to have something to at least share. Part of our goals for this group is to have a broad, a broad appeal, not just to tech folks, but also to business folks. So there'll be a little bit of tech here, but for the most part, what I'm trying to get across is something inspiring, something to make you think, to go back to the office and try and apply this to your actual day job. So it's really all about challenging those assumptions. So every company's got those things that we do because we've always done, or because somebody told us to do it, and we never really stop to kind of ask that question. And it may be the truth, and it may not be the truth. So what I really want to show is how we can quickly get in there and at least do a back of the napkin analysis to see is there some truth to that or not. So I think everybody in here has. I just met Hendrix. He's 8. You may be the only one that hasn't done elementary school English class, but I before E except after C, right? Yeah. So let's confirm that, and let's look into that. So some of the things. What's that? So what we're using here is Python. It's a thing called Jupyter Notebooks, and it's just a really quick way to spin up a development environment to go through, and it's one of the things I use anytime I'm exploring a new data set. The first step to doing any one of these kinds of analyses is to find a data set, and one of these cards up here, and I lost it, was methods of collecting data. So, okay, there we go. So we've got 6 folks that are interested in methods of collecting data. We've got 10 people looking for data mining. Are any other of these here relevant? But really, your company may have data, but you may need to go outside your company for that data too. So get creative. So that's one of the things we're going to do here. So the first thing I did is I just went and looked for English, dictionaries of English words. And I found one on the internet. Here on GitHub, it's from a person with an account named DWYL, and the intention behind that data set really, I think, is like spell checkers and things like that. So what it winds up having is 370,000 English words, so just over 370,000 English words, and they range all the way from A to zwitterionic. Which, unless you have like a chemistry degree, you probably don't know what zwitterionic is. I did not. I Googled it.
What is it?
It is something about changing polarities, right? So if you know it, then that's what it is. But I don't do that stuff. So I looked it up and I forgot it. So.
That's fine.
But what we're really interested in are the words that, the I before E, and so, all these words that have those letter combinations, it's IE or EI. So there's not 370,000 of those words, so let's just go ahead and look at how many of those there are. So there winds up being about 17,542 in this particular data set, which is just under 5% of English words have that letter combination in it. So that's kind of interesting to let us know it's not a huge problem, but maybe it is a problem, in 5% of the cases. So that's sort of the first pass down analysis, right? So we're deciding at this point, are we really interested in pursuing this or not? If you decide that 5% is a big enough problem to go down, or if you have a presentation for a data science group, you continue analyzing this data. So we go ahead and we read those words again. We load that data set of just the IE and EI words, and so that gives us that 17,542 words, and they go from, I did not Google these words, but what you can kind of see there is ableonate and Zweislight. So anybody knows what those are, right?
German word.
It does. So we want to know what percentage of those words are IE. So 75%, almost 76% of the words wind up being IE. Can you see those letters? Probably not in the back. I apologize. There we go. So 75% of those words wind up being IE. So when in doubt, just IE, and that's probably a pretty good
But you're still
strategy.
wrong 25% of the time.
Wrong 25% of the time, 24.8% of the time. Right? So if we're looking at the percent of EI words in the vocabulary, it winds up being 24. So let's build an analysis data set and some interesting, they're going to just keep on. So what we're going to do is create, what did I do here real quick? Give me 1 second. We're going to create this data set, and here's what it looks like. So we take and we start looking at the words that immediately precede, that's the prefix, or the letters that immediately follow the IE or EI. So we've got a class of word that either falls inside of IE or EI. It's going to be prefixed by a letter or not. It could be at the beginning of the word, and it's going to be suffixed by another letter or not. It could be at the end of the word. So you see an empty string there or no letter, that means that it's at the beginning or the end. The other things I thought might be interesting is what's the first letter of the word, what's the last letter of the word, and how many letters are in that word. You know, maybe longer words or shorter words tend to have a spelling, who knows. I'm just putting stuff in there. So the first thing we do is go ahead and group those words. What did I do here? Hang on. I have to zoom out just a second. This is just showing, so some words actually have IEs and EIs. This is one of the things I added right at the end. So some of these have like IE again, you know, so there's multiple word occurrences in there. So some word may show up multiple times in my data set is all that I'm showing here. So as we get into there, we're looking at, again, of these particular words, remember, a word can show up multiple times. 4,300 of them are EI, 13,000 of them are IE. And then we go ahead and run, basically, here's that class, EI or IE, by the letter that immediately precedes it. So I before E, except after C, winds up being, there's 251 words that are EI, but 742 words that are IE. So really, like, you're better off to continue doing IE when it proceeds by C. So that wasn't enough for me, so I kept looking. And
So it's pretty much not a good rule.
not a good rule at all. Yeah, that's, we can jump to the summary down here is going to
so
say
you're
that's
three times more likely being wrong going with that rule.
based on this data set, right? So it's all about the quality of your data. But yeah, yes.
Based on this dictionary.
This particular, yep. So, and it's probably true. Yeah, go ahead.
I noticed that some of the words, they share the same roots, but they're using different like forms of it, like explode, explosion, exploded.
Yep.
Is it taking into account just counting a single root or all of
No,
those?
no. So we're not taking the roots. Yeah, so that would be one of the things for example. It's a great question. So that's why I said based on this data set, because this particular data set does have multiple suffixes. You know, so you do an ing at the end of a word that ends, freeing. That's an EI that nobody's going to mess up, but it's in this data set. So I before.
That's good.
What's that?
Sorry.
Yep. Oh, sorry. So if it ends like in the case of freeing, it's always IE. Always EI after an E. Like there's no word in this data set. That's what this NaN means. So there's a couple other things in here. So what we want to do is first take this data set, and what this is showing here is basically for every one of those prefixes of the words that have that prefix, this is the beginning of the word, and then A through Z. The blues are the EIs, and the yellows are the IEs. So pretty much any blue above 50 is one that we might want to go ahead and look at. This doesn't tell us the actual, the absolute scale of that, but it does show us proportionally for all the words with that particular prefix that are suffix, that are followed by an IE or EI, what percentage are there? So if we want to look, that EI I just talked about, that's an interesting one. The beginning of the words are an interesting one, A, so let's go ahead and look at like A in the beginning of the words. So at the beginning of the word there's 111, but then A there's really only 58, so that's probably not a great rule if it's only addressing 58 different different cases. But one that is interesting, and I'll just jump to it, is this W. So in the case of W, we're sitting at whatever that winds up being, 60-something%, almost 70%. There are 192 EI words that are, right? Weird, yep. And so we can go ahead and say, all right, well maybe E, W in the beginning of the word are a better prefix for this particular heuristic, right? So I before E except after W. It doesn't roll off the tongue as well, but it's maybe a little bit better, a little bit better place to start. So we go ahead and dump that out, and I did mean to load this.
And I have a question.
Yep, go for it.
So how many lines of code did you use to work with this?
This particular data set? I don't know, a couple dozen maybe.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just really quick. And the tool sets that I'm using are Python, Pandas, and that's pretty much it.
I was gonna ask, can we set up like a share somewhere, maybe on GitHub, where we get, as people start working with some of these, we have a place to share some of the files?
Yes.
Like this code?
Yes. Yeah, so that's one of the things we're looking at. We're gonna, so the Python group used to have their own GitHub where anybody comes in and presents, can put their materials out there. So we're gonna set one up with this particular presentation out there. You can get in there, you can play with it, and that's what I was gonna show. So the cool thing here is, I went ahead and I just dumped that derived data out. So what we saved here, words of interest, winds up being a CSV file that you can pull into Excel or something like that, right? And you can start to filter all of these words. So the EI words that are prefixed by W. And so now you can start to see those. Bantam weight, bantam weights, this is what you were asking about. You know, that's just a plural version of the exact same word, so it's getting counted twice, that's not fair. Counterweights, counterweighted, fly weights, weird is down here somewhere. I'm sorry, not in this particular one, but weird is in there, you know, it's that one, it's an IE. So there's a data set here now that anybody that wants to can go and analyze and whatever their tool set is. So the third thing, and I've got 5 minutes left, because I was given a presentation, I decided to make, and we have a couple people that are interested in machine learning, so I just decided to throw this data set into a decision tree, which is a machine learning model. Basically, it takes all, it's a supervised learning model, so it'll take all the words inside that set, draw a line right in the center of them, bisect them, and it's going to train and figure out where that line is, and it's going to say everything on this side should be EI, and everything on this side should be IE. Well, some of those are right, some of those are wrong, and so it's going to do that, and it's going to build this tree where it sets these rules up. And the really cool thing about decision tree is it's explainable, so you can actually get in there and look at it. And I'm just going to run these for the purpose of time.
So
very quickly.
I'm going to butcher this, but it's looking at all the possible intersections, and it's saying what's the highest probability, like what's the best way to classify this? Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Yep.
And so it's easy to just visualize.
Yeah.
So what we're showing here is the rule so I fed it all of that. Normally you'd hold some of your data out, but in this case I decided just to overfit the model because it makes sense for the purpose. You've got a tree, and it's always going to go this side or this side. And so the first rule it says is, my data set says, well, the suffix is an S, and if that's 0, was not followed by an S. If it's 1, it was followed by an S. So this is saying, basically, if of these 17,000 samples, we've got 13,000 of them that are IE, 4,000 are EI. And so if we take and divide that and show these down here, then the next rule it applies as well. If the suffix is not an R, they're not here, the suffix is not a G, it goes down. And I just said do this, I think 4 levels or something, 3 levels. And at the end, you've got at the tail there, you've got, the model's gonna make a decision. So if we run all of those through this model, these are the results, and I'll zoom in just a little bit more so you can see them. So these are sorted by the accuracy, how many it got right. So I'm going to go down here before I hit this little shorthand here. I before E except after C is 72% accurate. I before E except after W is 76. This decision tree, it doesn't surprise me it's out there. You would never really solve a problem this way anyways, which is the reason to put decision trees in data science presentation. It's 78%. If I add more layers to it, I can get it up, 80, 90%. Eventually, it'll just memorize the data set. I before E, except after E is 76. So this is actually based on just that data set that I have, where you're getting the doubles and things like that for plurals and different suffixes and things. But yeah, so the conclusion here is I before E always is probably the more reliable rule just to follow. More so than I before E except ever C. W and E, they may or may not be better prefixes. I would want a different data set. So this is what I talk about the feature analysis. So lemmatization, that's the thing you're talking about, getting down to that root word. So a lot of the words in the English language have the same root, but they've got a different suffix, ed, ing, whatever it is, pluralization, something like that. So I'd want to get that down, take that data set of 370,000 words, and it probably comes down to way, way less because we get rid of all those duplicates. And then do the analysis on that. A better probably data set for the problem we're trying to address here is we want to save people from misspelling. So what are the most commonly misspelled words? So if you actually have data sets that are spell checkers, how often does somebody right click on that word and say, fix it with this, right? And so now you've got a data set that says this is what they typed, this was the right one, and if the right one was an EI and their mistake was they transposed the E and the I, that's where you would say, okay, now let's build the real. So maybe it is I before E except for C, because maybe that rule includes it, but we don't know that based on the data we have. 7 on the dot.
That's amazing.
I'm happy to stick around and
That's
answer questions. I'm
amazing.
happy to stick around and answer questions if you got them. But whatever. I hope this was fun. I hope it's inspiring and makes you think to go back to work and challenge those assumptions.
That was super brave with this audience. Can I ask you real quick? So AppCrowd, what is that?
So AppCrowd is my company. We do natural language processing and machine learning, and we apply that to online forums, so question and answer forums. So we pull all the jargon out of these engineering forums. When somebody asks a question in that forum, the way a typical forum works is you email everybody in the group. Hopefully somebody sees that and can answer the question. What we do is we say, hey, while that's happening, here's past conversations that are related to the question you're asking. Here's the individuals in that forum that have talked about those specific topics, and here's advertisers that provide products and services that can help you as well. So basically we're connecting people with better answers faster, and we do that through connecting them to those 3 different things. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, and one also, Jamie pulled all this food and these drinks and everything together, so thank you very much, Jamie.
Well, appreciate our sponsor AppCrowd for the food on this meeting. We're paying for it. So combination of work and money. So if in the future you want to sponsor a meeting and pay for food, let us know. Absolutely no problem, and we'll let you do a little blurb on your company.
Is the next meeting same place, same time next month?
Next meeting is exactly 3rd Tuesday of next month. Be conscious of the fact that that shifts a little. We will post it to the meetup page, and you can RSVP just like you did for this one.
5:37.
If you could speak on a topic, anything, let me know, myself or Chad, and we'll work with you to figure out how to schedule it in. I know a few of you reached out to me, and we'll work through that. That's awesome. What else? Any other updates?
No, if you're not on the Facebook, if you're not on the meetup, that's how we communicate with everybody. So find us on one or both of those.
Slack.
We don't have a Slack.
We do have Slack.
We do have Slack.
Oh, we do. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, which doesn't help us. We do have a Slack.
Next month we'll tell you
it's
about
actually, if you go to the meetup.
Unless Jason knows it.
If you go to the meetup.com page, if you're on that, which I assume you are, there's a link to the Slack as well as the Facebook group. So you can communicate. We can communicate through either of those channels. We do a little bit of duplication, and apologies for that. But we know some people prefer one or the other. Some people just basically completely abandon Facebook, and I understand. But we have both. So you can find it on that page. If you're not in the meetup.com group, just join that group, and that allows us to be able to get you communications. Again, I appreciate the support from Jason Klein, recording the video, and it's a really great thing that's happening in Springfield, trying to collaborate between different tech groups. So There's a lot of different things going on. Look at the meetup.org, talk to Jason, figure out where you can jump in, or what might be helpful to you.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Thank you.